Tia Chucha's website. On the right-hand side is tiachucha.com. TIACHUCHA.com. On the right-hand side, you're going to see a little donation button. And then there's a trailer for a film that we're going to make. The film right now doesn't have a title, but the theme is Art Transforms Communities. And I want you to see that trailer, and if you can, I want you to donate. Please. We need to raise $10,000 by November before we can get the matching to do this film and a book. We want to do this because we want to convince people in this country that the arts transforms people and communities, and we need the arts everywhere. And we're cutting it all out. I'm not saying that we don't need homes and we don't need schools and we don't need jobs. We need all these things. But if we don't tap into our creative, imaginative being, our kids are lost. And you know what happens when you have no imagination? Addiction happens. Violence happens. Because there's no imagination in that life. You understand that? Nothing. There's only one or two ways to go when you're in that world. You know what I mean? With imagination, you got thousands of ways to go. That's what you got to tap into. So we want you to help support this. It's going to be supported by a few dollars here and there. We're not going to have big bucks. That ain't going to happen. But we are going to get your $1 or $2. That's very helpful. I'm going to go hardcore, right?
Yeah.
So,
Civilization.
huh?
Civilization.
Don't mess with me. All right, so let me end with this one terrible thing, another terrible thing that's in my book. The book covers a lot of ground, including my own transformation. I became a revolutionary. I still am a revolutionary. I don't make no bones about it. I went to Mexico and took part in indigenous uprisings. I went to El Salvador, I went to all these other countries. I went to Nicaragua, I went to southern Honduras when the Contras were there. I got bombed twice in southern Honduras and survived, which is, I can't explain why. But again, these things call you back, man. There's craziness. So I'm going to read a section about one of the craziness. See if I can find it. The thing is that if somebody know about always winning, you know that I wasn't very close to my family. I don't really mean to put them down, but they're not bad people. I was the only one in my immediate family actually joined a gang, got into drugs. So that wasn't their world, but they had some other terrible things happen. There was a lot of physical and sexual abuse. And I didn't talk about it always winning, but I decided to talk about it. And the reason why is because everywhere I go, I speak to kids, I go to prisons, I go to bingo halls, I go to a lot of schools. It's a big problem. It's a big problem. Nobody wants to talk about it. So I'm going to take a chance to talk about the sexual and physical abuse within my family. For me to do this, what I did is I met with my family. And I invited everyone. I sent emails to all kinds of people. And 20 of them showed up to my house. I didn't think anybody was going to show up, to be honest with you. But they came. And I just want to tell you this because, you know, it was hard to tell them that I'm going to talk about some stuff that we never did talk about before. And that was about my father sexually abusing my sisters and trying to sexually abuse my daughter. And I didn't want to talk about it for one reason, because as long as my mother was alive, I didn't want to expose what she was doing. I just might be no big deal, but she passed on 2 years ago. So I decided to finally do it. My dad went crazy before he died, dementia, and all this stuff got exposed, all this stuff. It destroyed my family, as you can imagine. We've never been able to get better from it. I left my family 30 years ago and never was close to them. I didn't know a lot of the stuff was happening because he never molested me or my brother. He carried me like this girl. And so he never molested me, but I wasn't around. I was in the streets, I was using drugs, and I didn't know that my sister, especially my younger sister, was angry at me because I wasn't there to protect her, you understand? And she was really pissed off that I couldn't be there, and I was in the streets. And so it was really hard. My younger sister I love her dearly. She's 4 years younger than me, but she's got mental illness. So she got lupus, which is a very terrible disease. And just before my family and us met, she called me the day before. She was homeless in Idaho. She lived in Idaho. Her and her husband were homeless as a truck driver. They couldn't find a home. And I was trying to help them out. They finally got a place. But she called me to say, please don't back off. Tell this story. Tell the truth. So I had to do it for her. So I'm going to read you this one section because, you know, in my writing this book, I don't want to disparage my dad, to be honest with you. I mean, this is important. You understand what I'm getting at? My purpose is not to hurt anybody, even if they hurt me or my family. The truth has to come out, and I don't want to disparage him. That's his legacy. Well, unfortunately, that's going to be his legacy because that's what he did. He did a lot of great things too, but that's something that will always be there. And if anything comes out of this that I think is good, is that people will learn from this. And people will talk about these issues. So if his legacy is going to provide anything good, is that now that he's gone, that we will hope to open up the dialogue. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about the very end here. I was going to kill my father when I found out that he was trying to molest my daughter. You know, I went back. I hadn't had guns in years. I didn't think about violence. I was looking for a gun. You know, I went crazy for a little while. Luckily, the girlfriend that I was living with at the time was a therapist. She actually worked in South Central. She was working with the community there, and she was a genetic counselor, but they also taught her some therapy. She was very helpful. Thank God I had her because she was trying to help me out. One of the things she told me is, you're not going to save the world, dude. You're not going to save your family. Get that out. Your family needs healing. They don't need you going around shooting people who you think hurt everybody. You know what I'm saying? That's just me, ego. You know, I'm going to save my family. I wasn't there for that. You know, I was just over it. She was right. So, God, you're right. But I did have to bring the healing. So, this is part of it. And then I'm going to end with this. And again, I want to thank you. Please support poets, support poetry, buy these books, support Luiz Resto, and she's got a great program over at Avenue 50 where she does poetry. And then Rolando's got his great program. Just support everybody because we all need to get into this thing. So I'm going to end with this. I stopped wanting to waste my father, although my hatred toward him lasted for years. This part of my life has been the most painful to recount. I can't speak for any family members since they have their own ways of dealing with this. Yet I'm sure many of them would prefer this story never be shared, that the facts be buried, the incidents forgotten, the horror of living with pedophilia and other abuse pushed aside. But this is the chronicle of too many families, too many communities, particularly in our Chicano and Mexicano households, where people keep their mouths shut, their devastation bottled, and consequently healing is unable to occur. To come out stronger from this, I had to go through these wounds. My father passed away in 1992 from quickly spreading stomach cancer. He was in his early 80s. I was in Chicago at the time. I told my mother, although not anyone else in the family, why I wouldn't come to his funeral. She seemed to understand. At one point before my father succumbed to the disease, I called Mom. My dad was at home, unable to speak, breathing his last. My mother requested that I say something to him, even if he couldn't respond. I didn't know what to say, although I heard his shallow breathing. All my life, I wanted another father. Yet as I recall, he brought books home for me to read, even books I didn't care about. He showed me how to play chess, another obsession of his. And despite spending long hours away, he came home. Most of my young friends had their fathers. This was the only father I knew, the one given to me by forces vaster and more mysterious than I can ever comprehend. So I told him something he never told me. Dad, I love you. My mother said he had a reaction, ever so slight, to my words. The next day, he was gone.